All right, everybody, welcome to Math with Grace. Hello, today we're going to be looking at Geometry Book 1007, looking through circle and polygon constructions on pages 44 through 54. We're going to start with constructing a circle, which is problem 2.17 in your homework pages. So to do that, we're going to construct a circle from 3 points. To start out, first thing we need to do is connect two of our points to make a segment 2 different times. We need 2 segments all together. All right, once we have our 2 segments, we're going to get our compass out and we're going to perpendicularly bisect these segments. Now, we've learned this in the last section or two. So what we want to do is make sure our compass is set slightly farther than halfway. And we're going to make an arc out across the top and across the bottom here. And then we're going to switch over to point R with our pin. And we're going to make an intersecting arc there and an intersecting arc across the bottom. All right. Once that's done, if we connect those 2 points, and this time we're going to actually want the line. Once we've connected those 2 points, all right, we can do it for the other segment. Now we need to bisect the other segment. Now I'm just going to leave my compass how it was because that will work for us. I'm going to start at S and make an arc, and then at T and make an arc that intercepts and an arc that intercepts. Okay, so again, I can connect these 2 arcs. Now the reason we had you draw the lines this time is because we need the points where those 2 bisections intersect themselves. So that is this point right here. This point is now the center of your circle. All right, so using your compass with the pin at the center of your circle, shrink it or grow it so that it is the same length as one of the points. Each of these points now is a radius. From the center to the point is the radius of your circle. So now that I have it measured out to R, I can create my circle. Now, each of the points I was given is a point on the outside, on the edge of the circle, on the circle. And that's how you construct a circle. The next construction was creating a circle inscribed in a triangle. Okay? So we want to inscribe a circle into this triangle. So our first step in doing that is to get our compass out and have it at a comfortable distance. We're going to choose 2 of these vertices, okay, 2 of these angles, and we're going to bisect them. And where their bisections take place, that's going to end up being the center of our circle. So I'm going to start with C. All right, so I'm going to put my pin at the vertex for C, and I'm going to draw an arc that intercepts both sides of that angle, okay? Then you extend your compass. I'm going to go outside of the triangle just to keep it as clean as necessary. And at each intersection point, I'm going to start with this one at the top. I'm going to make an arc, all right? And then move my pin to the bottom intersection and make another arc, okay? That point is the point of bisection for my angle. Okay, last time we bisected segments, this time we're bisecting angles. And there, my angle has been bisected, all right? So I'm gonna bring my compass back in and I'm gonna do point A. Okay, vertice A. Do it the same way. We make an arc, then we extend our compass. Again, I'm going outside of the triangle just to keep it clean. And I'm gonna put my pin at the topmost intersection and make an arc. And then I'm going to put my pin at the bottommost intersection and make my arc. I've got my point of intersection here, so I can set it up on my vertex and my point of intersection and draw my line. Okay, where they intersect now, that is the center of our circle. Okay, boom. Now, using this as a point off of segment AC, I'm going to make a perpendicular from this point to segment AC. To do that, I'm going to need to bring my compass in a bit. I want it to be just slightly longer than the length of that point in AC. Okay, so I need to bring it in. That looks good. That's a good length. See, it's just slightly longer than, I made just a little bit longer even, slightly longer than it will take to get to AC. Then with my pin at that center point, at that point off the line, remember we're doing these, we're going to make a big arc that intercepts the line at 2 different places. Okay, we've got this arc now that intercepts our line AC at 2 different places. Now we don't need to make the compass too much bigger, but at each of those intersections we're going to draw an arc out here. So here's one from the right side intersection, and here's one from the left side intersection. Okay, so this is now our point that will make our perpendicular line from this point, and all I need is that line. I don't need to go away from the triangle at all, because this line that I just made, that perpendicular, is actually now our radius for our circle. So I can take my compass and set it to that radius. Okay, like about so. Set the compass to my radius, and now I can draw my circle that is now inscribed in a triangle. And that's how you inscribe a circle into a triangle. Our final circle construction is going to be circumscribing a circle around a triangle. Okay, here we have a triangle on our paper. This was number 218, and we're going to circumscribe a circle around it. First thing we need to consider is that each of the vertices of this triangle are on the circle, just like we did in 217, where each point was on the circle. Each of these vertices of this triangle are on the circle. So we need to choose 2 sides, and we need to perpendicularly bisect them, just like we did in 217. Okay, so we're going to set our compass to something slightly larger than half the distance. Okay, and we're going to start at one end and make an arc, both sides, and then switch over to the other endpoint and intersect. I missed, so let me come back over here. There we go. All right, connecting these 2 points, okay, is my first bisection of that segment. Okay, next I'm going to do this segment over here. I got to shrink my compass down just a smidge. Starting from this vertex, I'm going to make an arc up here and an arc down there. And then switching over to this, I make 2 arcs that hopefully intercept. Of course, they intercept right on my other bisection, but we'll keep that in mind here. So it's right here to right there. Okay, so where these intersect is the center of my circle. Now, from practice, I think mine is a little off, but like I said in last videos, you know, we're working with hand grenades here. It can be close enough. Now we just change our compass from the center of our circle to any of the points outside, any of the vertices of the triangle, because that is the radius of our circle. So if I match this up with this point here, I should be able to draw a pretty neat circle. All right, so we have drawn a circle circumscribing a triangle, and that's how we get it done. The next set of constructions we're going to do are polygons. All right, so the book starts us off with constructing a rectangle, but the homework starts us off with constructing a square. So I'm going to construct a square with you today. A rectangle is not much different, but obviously you have different lengths. Your first step for either is going to be drawing a work line. All right, we want to start here with a work line. Our next step is to choose point on our work line where we're going to begin, and then to measure the length of our side. Now, if you were doing a rectangle, obviously you would have 2 lengths, but we're doing a square right now, so we just have the 1, all right? Then from our point we made on our work line, we're going to mark how long that is, okay? That's how long one side of my square is. Now, if you're doing a rectangle, you would choose one of the lengths and put it on your work line. And then once we make our perpendicular, you would put the width up the perpendicular. But now we need to make a perpendicular because squares, like rectangles, have 90-degree angles. So I'm going to bring my compass down, and starting from the point, my very first work point, I'm going to make 2 very small little dog ear arcs on my work line, right? From those dog ear marks, I'm going to extend my compass. From each one, I'm going to start here with the one on the right. I'm going to make an arc up here, and then from the one on the left, I'm going to make another arc, okay? Using that intersection point and my starting point, we now have a perpendicular line, okay? Now, going back to my original length of one side of my square, like I said, if you're doing a rectangle, this would be your, if you put the length on the work line, this would be your width. But I'm going to go back and remeasure it. Then again, starting from the base and going up my new perpendicular line, I'm going to put a mark for the length of my square, okay? Now, I've got 1 corner and 2 sides of my square. Without changing my compass, so it's still the length of my square, I'm going to come out here to this end point of this side, and I'm going to make an arc up there somewhere where the other corner will be, okay? And then taking my compass to the other side, I'm going to come up here at this end point, put my pin there, and make a mark where that corner would be. Now, if you're doing a rectangle, obviously when you're going vertically, you want that to be your width. And when you're going horizontally with your mark, you want that to be your length so that you get the proper proportions, right? But here is my other corner of my square. So now I can just connect the points and have a completed square. And that is how we construct a square. The next construction in our book is constructing a parallelogram. Problem 223 is constructing a rhombus, which of course is a parallelogram, so we're going to do that one. Again, when we're constructing these types of things, we're always going to start with our work line. So I'm going to draw a nice usable work line here. And then I'm going to choose a point in which I'd like to start my construction, all right? We're constructing a rhombus with a 45-degree angle. So our first step, just like when we were constructing a square, is to measure the length of our rhombus. We know that a rhombus, like a square, has 4 equal length sides, okay? So that being said, we can go to our work point that we delegated down there and mark off the length of the first side of our rhombus. Now, unlike a square, a rhombus does not have perpendicular lines. It's a rhombus with 45-degree angle. But to get a 45-degree angle, we still need to draw a perpendicular line. So I'm going to shrink my compass down and perform the same steps like I did in the last construction to make a perpendicular line. So we start with 2 even radii dog ears here, little arcs on our work line, extending our compass, and then from each of those intersection points, we're creating an arc off to the top here. Using that point of intersection and our point on our work line, we now have a new perpendicular ray, all right? But we need a 45-degree angle, not a 90-degree angle. So we're going to shrink our compass back down here and bisect that angle, okay? So with my pin at the vertex of that angle, I'm going to draw an arc that goes all the way across both sides of this angle, okay? And then with my compass open up nice and wide, I'm going to go to each of these intersection points and make an arc out here in the distance somewhere, okay? Starting at the bottom one and then moving up to the top one And then moving back to the bottom one because I missed it. All right, there we go. Now this will help us, and this is the bisection of our angle. And when we cut 90 degrees in half, we have now a 45-degree angle. Okay, so we don't need this outer part anymore. This is what we're working with inside of here, okay? Now that we have our angle drawn, we need to take our compass back up here and reset it to the length of one side of our rhombus. We already have our base drawn in. We're going to use this length now and the vertice down here, and we're going to mark up our new 45-degree ray, how long our rhombus is. Now, if you read the instructions in the book, it will tell you to copy this 45-degree angle over here and make another perfect angle. And not that that's not great, but using the size of our rhombus, we can come to this point and make an arc out here somewhere, just like we did on our square, somewhere that the corner will be. And then coming up to our new endpoint up here, we can do the same thing, okay? A rhombus has all of its sides the same length, so they can only reach so far. Where those points intersect is the other corner of your rhombus. Now, if you're going to move on in your life to a future in geometry, they may require you to copy the angle so that it's a bit more precise, but for our class, it's fantastic. And that is how you construct a rhombus or parallelogram. The next construction we're going to be doing is constructing a hexagon. This is one of my favorite constructions, okay? And how we're going to do that is, first we're going to start with a point. So I'm going to kind of work off to the side here because I know our next construction needs lots of room. But we're just going to choose a point. Boom. All right. Then our next step is to take our compass and we're going to set it to the length of one side of our hexagon. And we're going to use this as a radius to make a circle at this point. So I'm going to put my pin at the point that I created, if I can. And I'm going to make a circle, beautiful circle around that point with the radius the same length as my hexagon. Now, choosing any point on this circle, could be anywhere. I'm going to choose this one right here. We're going to take our same exact radius. Okay, I did not change my compass. And with my pin at that point that I just chose, I'm going to make an arc on my compass. Okay, and then going just around it at each of these points, I'm going to make an arc. I'm going to move it to the arc I just made and then make another arc. Then I'm going to move my pin to that arc and make another one. Move my pin and make another one. Now, if we connect each of these points, if I put a point at each of these arc intersections on my circle, kind of looks like a throwing star, we can connect those dots, connect those points, and we will have a beautiful regular hexagon. That's why this construction is my favorite. It's pretty straightforward and has very few steps. That is how we construct a regular hexagon. Our final construction of this lesson is constructing an octagon. Constructing an octagon takes a lot of work, and we're going to go through it right now. But first thing we do is we start with a work line. And I'm going to put my work line very low on the paper. When you're doing this in your homework, you're going to want to start near the bottom. I've got a little extra space here because I'm just using a piece of sheet paper. Feel free to use a piece of sheet paper and just include it with your homework. But we're starting with our work line. Okay, then I'm going to choose a point somewhat near the center-ish, okay, as my starting point. All right, with that being done, we're going to take our compass and we're going to measure the length of our octagon. Now, unlike the hexagon, I can't just make a circle and put in a bunch of sides because it just doesn't work out for this octagon. But once I've got the length of my octagon, I'm going to go to my point on my work line and I'm going to construct that segment of octagon, okay? And I'm going to label this point R. We're going to have a lot of point R's as we go here. Okay, the next thing I need to do is make a perpendicular construction at point R. So I'm going to shrink my compass down and make my small arcs on both sides, and then extend my compass out and make a perpendicular. Now I'm going to try to keep these marks kind of light. Sorry if they're not super clear, but this construction is going to get a bit muddied if we do these very dark. So from here, my intersection point, I'm going to draw my 90-degree perpendicular, okay? But we only need half. We need a 45-degree angle to make our octagon. All right, so just like we did on our parallelogram, our rhombus, we're going to split this perpendicular into two 45-degree angles by first making an arc with our compass, and then we can extend it quite a bit. And from each of these intersection points, we can make an arc way out here, first from the bottom, then from the top, and then we've successfully bisected our 90-degree angle. Okay, that one I made a bit darker because it's actually a line in our octagon, okay? So that being said, this is one now side of our octagon. We need to come back here and remeasure how long that side needs to be, okay? So with our compass over here, we're going to measure the side of our octagon, and starting at our point R, we're going to mark up how long that octagon is, okay? So that's the length of that side of our octagon. Now, in class, we made another perpendicular and then bisected that, but what we're going to do right here for this video is we're just going to create another 45-degree angle. Once that 45-degree angle is created, we can just keep going around and around and around, just copying the 45-degree angle in our next line of our octagon. We're going to kind of speed this up a little bit. Now that we're down to one of our last sides here, we are going to measure the length again of the side of our octagon. Working from our last R, we're going to mark that on our work line, our work ray. And rather than measure it all over again, all we have to do for this last step is to connect these final two dots. So inside of this mess is our regular octagon. It takes a lot of steps. There's a lot of measuring, making equal arcs, measuring the length of those arcs, measuring the side of our octagon. It's a lot of work, but you've created a regular octagon. As always, if you have any questions or need help with anything, you know how to get in touch with me. Otherwise, have a great day.